Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of my videos. Today I want to focus on something that we sort of touched on but didn't really quite address it. And that is another way in which we can avoid the COVID-19 disease. So we've heard lots of information by now. We know that some people get very ill and some people don't. And I've had 4 patients with COVID-19, one of which got very, very ill. And it really has a lot to do with their resources, with the heftiness and the strength of their immune system. And we have talked about how food is very important in that, and that you want to eat like the rainbow, you want lots of colorful food, and you want it to be organic, and you want it to be more plant-based, your diet in general. We've also talked about mindfulness and practicing gratitude. We talked about grounding and how important that is, and increasing your antioxidant stores. Today I want to focus in a different way, which I haven't yet addressed, how we can really strengthen our immune system. And it is basically one thing that can be subdivided or grouped into 2. Right? And it is our ability to receive electrons from the earth, as I mentioned, you can do with grounding, but also to protect our force field, because we do have energetic fields around us, and those are heavily affected by dirty electricity, electromagnetic radiation, like the radiation that radiates from your cell phones, and particularly if you have an iPhone, the amounts are even higher. Dr. Habas has done a great deal of research on this. But I also want to talk about how do we protect ourselves. Number 1, you should always have your phone on flight mode when you go to sleep. You should have your Wi-Fi turned off in your house. And you do not want to have your phone close to you. Most experts on the subject say at least 6 feet away. I prefer to keep it in the other room, have it on flight mode or completely turned off, or airplane mode, and have your Wi-Fi turned off in your house. With respect to dirty electricity, it's more about checking your plugs in your house and making sure that the wiring is all correct. But realize that sometimes you can also be getting electromagnetic radiation from your smart meters, from your neighbors, for example. And we want to try and limit the amount as much as possible. We know that some people are more susceptible to it than others. But in particular, I want to focus on, besides just avoiding contact, decreasing our exposure, what else can we do? And this is one of the reasons why I'm outside. Because in his latest book, Dr. David Perlmutter, who's a neurologist, who's very well known for increasing glutathione levels, and particularly for using glutathione for treating Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And he's written many books. The Grain Brain, for example, is one of his books. The latest book is called Brainwash. And he goes through how, because we live in such a stressful and get it done yesterday type of world, we tend to have lower stores of of energy for our immune system. And we hadn't quite talked about this. And his big emphasis is sort of what happens with the prefrontal cortex, that part of our brain, and how it's so affected by stress. And what can we do about it? Because it's important to know, right, and know what our sort of exposures and our risks are, but then we want to know what do we do about it. And his big focus on this book is spending time outdoors. We've already talked about meditation and having a meditation practice, but you don't necessarily need to be meditating. He cites several articles, some of which you will find on my YouTube channel, as well as on my internet. Oh, I should say on my website. Can't seem to get that word out today. And he cites the literature, study after study, emphasizing the importance of being outside, just spending time in nature. Now here, it's a little windy. We can hear the birds. I'm sure you can too. We have a beautiful site, which I'll show you in just a minute. But just being outside, you don't necessarily have to be hiking or swimming, which are extremely important, or doing stand-up paddleboarding, but just spending time in nature. It could just be sitting and doing nothing. And for those of you who are inside, try to see how much little bits of time can you go outside. Even if it's just for 2 minutes. Of course, we prefer it to be 15 minutes or more, but the least amount possible is important. So in other words, you want to just be out in nature. Aside from receiving electrons and lowering electromagnetic radiation in general, or EMF fields, which, and I'm not saying that every time you go outside there will be less. It depends on your area, but there's something about also sunshine and air and being able to breathe and spending time in nature. Whether you are just sitting on a stone or you're looking at a beautiful sight, you could be on the beach, whether you're sitting down or walking, just being outside. Which of course with a stay at home makes it pretty difficult, but realize that even small increments of time make a huge difference. So my goal for you today, in order to strengthen your immune system and avoid your COVID-19 disease, is twofold. Really, we're doing the same thing in terms of increasing the robustness of our immune system, but we're doing it by decreasing our exposure to electromagnetic radiations, particularly if you have an iPhone, and we are spending time in nature, as much time as possible. Even just walking outside and having 15-20 seconds in the sun, that works. And now let me show you how I do it. So this is one of my pathways, and next to my little garden, as well as just looking out on the greenery, just being outside. Sometimes I spend most of my day weeding, so please take small increments of time and just spend it in nature. This is one of the ways in which I spend time in nature. That's my little pond, and of course we have some bamboo that I'm going to be making some divisions for the property. This is a water fountain. I love just spending time here, and it can be sitting down, it can be working, it's whatever is important to you, but touching a plant, feeling its energy, just being present and being in nature is an amazing experience, and one way you can really increase the robustness of your immune system. I love the greenery against a volcanic rock. This is one of my favorite areas on my home where I can just sit and look at nature. Sit in those little rocks. I look at the greenery, feel the sun on my skin. Really, it's all about just being present and really being thankful for nature and all that it can do. It can really decrease the effects of stress on our bodies. And if you can't do it in a big way, you can do it in a small way. Nature. Spending time admiring a flower, listening to the sounds of nature. This is my little water fountain, which makes it really soothing. Just looking at the different colors in your garden. Just appreciating the fact that you're able to go outside, even if it's just in a small space. For those of you that are in apartments or completely confined, open up your window. Just see how much contact you can possibly have with what is around you. You can also create your own. At one point in time, I wasn't able to go outside very much, so I have a really small fountain, and I just had it inside. It's small, but just the soothing flow of the water is great for your immune system.